Think of the old Indian tax system like driving across dozens of state borders. Every border had its own toll booth, unique rules, and mountains of paperwork that choked supply chains. Replacing that with GST meant clearing those local toll booths to build one single, high-speed interstate. 9 years have passed since the system launched in July 2017, putting enough data on the board to evaluate how that single highway is holding up as of mid-2026. This graph tracks the gross GST revenue across that exact timeline. You can see a massive, sustained surge, climbing from roughly 7.4 lakh crore in 2017 to 22.27 lakh crore by the end of 2026. By June of this year, monthly collections stabilized at a highly robust 1.95 lakh crore. When we pull back and look at the parallel axes, the taxpayer base scales right alongside the revenue. The system expanded from 66.5 lakh registered taxpayers at launch to nearly 1.65 crore today, a jump of 148%. These hard macroeconomic numbers are impressive, but they create a deceptive narrative. They frame GST exclusively as an economic triumph of digital tax collection, which obscures the actual mechanics of how it operates. Policy candidates and analysts often evaluate GST strictly as a technocratic tool. In this view, the policy exists simply to eliminate the math error of applying a tax on top of another tax. The true reality of the GST is deeply political. It operates as an architectural mechanism that forces coordination across fiercely divided lines. Building the system required overcoming historical gravity. The midnight rollout you see here represented the culmination of brutal, high-stakes political negotiation, rather than a mere victory for economic theorists. To understand why, we have to look at fiscal sovereignty. In a federal republic, power flows directly from money. Historically, states aggressively guarded their absolute right to levy and collect their own distinct taxes. That right was their primary lever of regional authority. The achievement of GST is that 28 fiercely independent states agreed to surrender that historical fiscal sovereignty to a central system. To see exactly why states made that sacrifice, look at this mode-based map of the pre-2017 tax landscape. As a single commodity crosses state borders, it picks up overlapping layers of central excise, state VAT, and service taxes. This creates the cascading effect. Because the rules vary at every node, businesses end up paying a tax on an asset that has already been taxed at the previous stop. Costs balloon artificially for both the business and the final consumer. Replacing that fragmented map with a single, unified digital infrastructure instantly dissolved those overlapping tolls. The grid moves across borders under a single tax layer. The economic math of a unified grid is pristine on paper. Enforcing it across a vast democracy, however, required building an entirely new conflict resolution engine for the country. That engine is the GST Council. It serves as the central brain of the single market, forcing the union government and state governments to share a single table. The bureaucratic reality of this body is intense. Deeply opposed state ministers and ideological rivals sit on equal footing to negotiate the exact rate of taxation for shared markets. The rules they write here are binding. When the council votes on a rule or a rate, it locks every participant into total national uniformity. No state can independently change the price of entry. This agreement is enforced by a massive digital backbone of invoices, returns, and real-time tracking. It ensures every rupee of revenue is accurately calculated and shared between the center and states, eliminating the ability of any single state to cheat the math. By hardwiring mathematical accountability into the infrastructure, the Council effectively converted a volatile fiscal battlefield into a working federal model. That clean theoretical design immediately collides with human nature and the strict incentives of democratic survival. Consider a chief minister facing a difficult re-election campaign. Their immediate incentive is to protect the regional industries that fund campaigns and employ their specific voting bloc, rather than preserve the abstract purity of the national tax code. This map shows how that political pressure manifests. Local nodes aggressively lobby the council, demanding lower rates, distinct rules, or short-term exemptions for their key local sectors. When the council yields to these localized demands, frequent rate tweaks and compliance changes ripple across the grid. The promise of a truly seamless national market buckles under the weight of special conditions. The structural fixes required to clean up the tax code are continually blocked because the short-term popularity of offering a tax exemption reliably outweighs the long-term benefit of a perfect market design. This political friction creates complexity, particularly within the input tax credit framework, the exact mechanism designed to prevent tax cascading by letting businesses claim credit for taxes paid on purchases. As states negotiate varying rates and irregular rules, the resulting complexity leads to uneven enforcement across borders. Sophisticated tax evasion takes root in this confusion. Bad actors game the credit system through fake invoices, actively weaponizing the transparent digital tracking into a vector for fraud. These implementation gaps are not accidental oversights. They are the inevitable cost a democracy pays to maintain an uneasy coalition of 28 sovereign states. This scale visualizes the GST Council's core tension, balancing the macroeconomic demand for national uniformity against the democratic demand for state autonomy. The constant lobbying and rate tweaks are often cited as failures, but notice the fulcrum holds firm. This friction is the system operating exactly as intended. It actively absorbs and regulates deep political conflict that would otherwise shatter the single market completely. That 22.27 lakh crore revenue base was not achieved in a sterile political vacuum. It was generated entirely through this perpetual, grueling tug-of-war. 9 years after its launch, GST's ultimate legacy is its structural durability. It stands as modern India's most resilient engine for cooperative federalism.